Good morning. I just want to reiterate everything the mayor said about the incredible work of all of public safety in the Fall River community. The fire department, police department, EMS, EMA, there are a lot of volunteers who appeared on scene. And were it not for the heroic work, brave work of these men and women who showed last night, particularly our fire and police and EMS, we would have seen much greater loss of life. As you can see, this is a fairly massive structure, massive facility. It housed nearly 70 people, thank God the vast majority of them were able to be taken out. Most of them were people who needed help, as you see from some of the footage and what I've seen. These are people who were not able to move themselves. They were not mobile themselves, and therefore the work that fire and police and EMS did to get people out was truly amazing. I'm also grateful that the 5 firefighters who were treated at the hospital have been released. I'm glad for their safety. I just want to say to the families and friends of those who perished, I offer my condolences, deepest condolences and sympathy on behalf of the Commonwealth for this tragic loss. We lost 9 folks last night in this terrible tragedy, and our hearts and our sympathies are with their families. I have pledged to the mayor and to the people of Fall River that my administration will do everything we can to offer support and assistance in this time. I know the teams here in the mayor's office and his folks have done a tremendous job getting people to their place of shelter down at the center. We'll probably go down there next, and very much in the process of now looking to rehouse this vulnerable population. But we'll continue to keep you updated. As we know, this matter is under investigation by the state DFS, and we'll provide updates as we receive them. But again, my heartfelt thanks and gratitude, deepest gratitude to police, to fire, to EMS, and to all the first responders who showed up last night and worked through the night to save so many lives. We are so grateful to all of them. And again, our deepest sympathies to family and friends of those who perished in this terrible, tragic fire. Thank you.
So we really don't have any updates from the last time we spoke. I just was fortunate to meet Governor Healey and speak with her, and I look forward to forming a relationship in the coming months to make sure that the firefighters, like I spoke before, firefighters and other public safety, EMS and police, have the resources they need to cope with this tragedy and continue their careers and be able to retire happy, healthy lives. So she's made a commitment to help out with anything that the state can provide for us, and we look forward to working with her on that. I really don't, I'm more than welcome if there are any questions that I could answer, but I don't think I'm going to be able to provide much more than we did this morning.
Any sense of any sense of the source of the fire? Sorry.
It's all still under investigation. Like I said earlier, this is a very extensive investigation. It's going to take a lot of time, and we need to get the facts right before we release them. So we ask for your patience with that.
Where it might have come from, maybe where it might have started?
Again, same, under investigation, and we really need to make sure that we get that right before we release it. What time? Shortly after 9:30 last night.
Well, the relationship between our administration and the city of Fall River is tight. We've worked together on a lot of things. We've worked together in good times on a lot of matters of economic development under Mayor Coogan's great leadership. And what I pledge is that we'll do whatever we can. I've been in touch with our Secretariats of Health and Human Services and of Public Safety. Right now, the first order of business is to make sure we're assisting the city in any way possible in rehousing what is a vulnerable population. The city's done a great job of getting folks immediately last night to the center for shelter, where they've already had food, had their medication. That's a work in progress. However, we can be helpful. The majority, if not all of these folks, are mass health recipients, and so working with our agencies and all to see what we can do is what we're looking at right now. And of course, DFS, the fire marshal's office, is involved separately in looking at and reviewing the cause and the extent of this fire.
What is it like to think about just what areas you'll be looking at in terms of condition of the facility, any kind of authentic problems it has? I mean, can you speak about what areas you're going to be looking at in terms of the condition of the facility? You know, whether it was up to code, whether things were working or not working. I know it's too early to say exactly, but what areas are you going to be focusing on?
Well, it's very early in the review process, and I'll leave you to speak directly with the fire marshal about the scope of his investigation, but needless to say, it's something that we'll look at all of that. But again, it's much too early to offer any answers at this time, but DFS will be sure to keep everyone apprised.
What is it like actually looking at the damage, seeing all of this in person? What's going through your head?
I appreciate, the mayor and I were talking early this morning, and I'd obviously seen some of the pictures from the media and the videos, but to see it up close, you can smell it right now still, and this is hours after our tremendous teams put the fire out. It's horrifying to think about what happened in the middle of the night in the dark. People just scrambling as best they could to get out through windows, the firefighters coming up ladders, hauling people down in any way possible to get them out of the building. The panic, it's so heartbreaking and so sad, and something you never want to see. And all I can say is that I'm heartbroken for the individuals who perished in this, and I'm heartbroken for their families and for their friends and loved ones. I'm grateful that we have, this is government though at work. The men and women who show up and answer the call, in the middle of the night to put out a fire and to rescue people and to save lives. Just really, really struck by those acts of public service, and just so grateful that the teams were able to act so quickly, so swiftly. And were it not for that, we would have seen an even an unimaginable loss of life here, given the vulnerability of this population. And I think that's what strikes me. That's what folks need to understand. This was not a situation where teams arrived and people were able to get out easily. All of these people needed assistance. As you saw, many were in wheelchairs, many were immobile, many had oxygen tanks. They were severely compromised individuals in this assisted living facility, which made it all the more challenging. And you can imagine a fire raging. You're dealing with a smoke inhalation, which we know was devastating. 5 of our guys had to be treated at the hospital, but just how precarious this was with oxygen tanks, so many of them on, and the presence of fire. It's unbelievable that there wasn't an even greater loss of life, and I just think it speaks to, the training and the preparedness of the first responders, the fact that so many people were able to get shelter, nourishment, blankets, medication. That's tremendous coordination by the mayor, Mayor Coogan, and his leadership and his teams, and that very much continues as we speak.
Governor Healey, is the state aware of any previous safety complaints by this assisted living facility?
Not at this time, but again, we haven't had a full opportunity to look into everything.
Have you heard numbers about how many people remain in the hospital at this time?
I don't have that number right now.
I think I know that 8 like suspects.
8 is not.
Chief, we've seen a number of red boxes being brought out of the building. What's in those boxes?
Those are the patient's medication boxes. We're doing everything we can to get those out of the building and disposed of properly. Obviously, they've been tainted by whatever smoke and other products of combustion that were in the building. So those boxes are going to be, the medication is going to be removed and disposed of.
Is there one where the main challenges in the operation?
I'm sorry?
Describe some of the main challenges during the
Yeah, I think it's in a facility like this with assisted living, like we've said and like the governor said, the people in this building need help to perform daily functions, let alone to escape during an emergency situation. So that is the largest challenge that we had was that everybody in this building required some form of help to get them out of the building. It's a super labor intensive and manpower intensive operation, and we're just so proud of the police, fire, and EMS that we're able to do that under extreme circumstances last night. I've been remiss in not mentioning Chief Rick Aguiar of Fall River Emergency Management. Within an hour, he had everybody who was not transported to a hospital in buses and moved to that shelter. He does a tremendous job with emergency planning in the city. With his, he always says that I do a lot of work in evacuations that will never see the light of day. And last night was testament that the work that he puts into this got those people safely to a place where they could be safe and sheltered for the night. So his people, he has a large group of volunteers that were here throughout the night to make sure that those people were taken care of, and they also provide rehab for the first responders to make sure that we have water and we're monitored and we can perform our job. So I apologize for not mentioning him earlier, but between the State Fire Marshal's office, the state police fire investigation unit, the code compliance division, there was a tremendous teamwork between state assets and local assets here last night that really brought the positive outcome that we had. Again, I say positive outcome wholeheartedly knowing that 9 people did not make it last night, but also knowing that that could have been 39, 49, or 59 without everybody who was here to perform the rescues and make sure that everybody was transported and treated properly. Sure, just briefly, so at about a little after 9:30 last night, we responded to an automatic fire alarm at this location behind me, Gabriel House. First crews on scene reported fully involved structure. We had flames coming from that front door behind me. Initial attack lines were brought to knock the fire down, but at the same time, there were multiple victims hanging out the windows, screaming and begging for help and to be rescued. So we knocked down the fire quickly, then all available assets were moved towards rescuing the individuals that needed help. And that's not just fire, it was police. Typically police don't perform that function, but they did a tremendous job last night, and they saved countless lives in assisting the people that they could out of the building. EMS did an incredible job. They were set up right in this parking lot over here, triaging and getting the patients that needed the most care moved to the facilities that were appropriate for their level of care, while also treating the people that they could treat on scene and releasing them so that they wouldn't burden the hospital systems in the area. So it really was something that we planned for, hoping to never have to use, but I'm so glad that we do train for it, and I think it worked well last night.
Where in the building were people rescued from? Were they all
Everywhere. Everywhere. So every room, so 9:30 at night on a Sunday night, everyone was probably in their room either sleeping or getting ready to sleep. So what I envision in my head is that the building filled up with smoke. I also know that there's a lot of false alarms in this building. There's a lot of people that burn toast, they'll burn food. And so the fire alarms go off and they say, oh, that's just so-and-so burning their food again. And then by the time you open the door and hear people screaming that there's a fire, you can't go anywhere because of smoke. And I talked a little bit about smoke safety this morning, and that's the message. That's really what we need to preach. And if there's a silver lining, or if there's a lesson we can learn from this, is be vigilant about smoke safety, smoke detectors, and pay attention to them. They're there for a reason. In the 1970s, thousands of people died in this country annually. And since then, since we've put in smoke detectors and mandated them through legislation in single-family and multifamily homes, those numbers have drastically reduced, and there's a reason for that. So pay attention to your smoke detectors and know that smoke kills more people than fire ever will.
Were there additional measures in place here in the building? Reports of an elevator not working? Sorry. Can you speak to any past inspections or reports?
I have no reports of an elevator not working, and if that were the case, I think they rely on the elevator here. I can't imagine that that's the case.
Are there additional measures in place in this building, knowing the vulnerability of the people? Are there additional checks done here on things like sprinklers, that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're held to the same standard as any nursing or hospital care facility in the city. They are quarterly inspected and compliant. So those inspections are done by our department, by DPH. So we'll have more information on if there were any issues with those. But as of right now, I don't have that information. So spread throughout. If you can imagine, smoke moves everywhere. Smoke it's kind of like water. It just follows the path of least resistance. So smoke was everywhere in this building from top to bottom and left to right. So so we had victims literally. I mean, if this were a typical apartment house, we wouldn't have had as many victims because people would be able to self-evacuate. But because once those people found and there was smoke in the hallway, those victims they weren't moving. They were right where they were. So they were everywhere in the building.
Most died from smoke inhalation.
What's that?
Most died.
I can't speak to that. I don't have any of those reports.
Something appears to be suspicious at this point.
I can't speak to that either.
I mean, what are you looking at? And what will be
That's the investigators looking at it between the Fall River Fire Department and the state office. So we're again very early on in the investigation, and one of the most dangerous things that we can do is speculate. Speculation can really sink an investigation. So we want to stay as far away from speculation as we can.
No, I have not yet.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. If there's any more information, like I said earlier, we're going to prepare a press release to send out to everybody this afternoon with all the details that we discussed. And if there's anything major, I promise that we will call another press conference, maybe at our headquarters. But we will let you know before we do anything. We appreciate you guys being here. Thank you.